we're all talking about Trevor Lawrence. How confident are you that Trevor Lawrence will be a franchise-altering quarterback in this draft coming up?
Oh, I'm very confident that he is going to be the real deal for the Jacksonville Jaguars because they're going to take him. He's the number 1 overall pick for them. And Urban Meyer came out of retirement because they had that pick. The thing about Trevor Lawrence, we'll talk about all of the things that he can do on the field because on the field, he reminds me a lot of Justin Herbert plus a little sizzle. All the things that we saw Justin Herbert do last year in terms of being able to be a pinpoint passer and those things, Trevor Lawrence can do. Trevor Lawrence has the athleticism to do things in the run game. He can buy time. He can do all of that. But his best traits are his leadership ability and his ability to connect with his teammates. And that connectivity is really going to matter as Urban Meyer changes the culture down in Jacksonville.
Bucky, Brandon Marshall here. Much respect to you. Love your work. 2 questions for you. Number 1, when you think about me, what uniform do you see me in? You know, I played for a couple of teams.
Well, it's hard because I think about the Denver Broncos and having all the catches there. I think about you also balling out in Chicago. The thing that I remember about you is just being a big physical specimen, dominating people with your physicality on the perimeter. How about that?
Okay, I appreciate that. But what you didn't mention was my favorite team, the Jets, Bucky. What are we going to do at the number 2 pick? With the number 2 pick, talk to me. Like, come on.
Okay, so here's the thing. Joe Douglas and the front office, they have an opportunity to really hit the reset button on the rebuilding process. As much as some would say they can do that with Sam Darnold, they can build around Sam Darnold, finally give him the weapons that maybe he hasn't had the first 2 years of his career. You do that by having Zach Wilson come in. Zach Wilson, to me, is the pick for them. I believe they see a very, very special player. And I think when you put Zach Wilson in this offense, because remember, this offense is a descendant or a cousin of the Kyle Shanahan offense. And we've seen what athletic players have been able to do in this offense. Zach Wilson has big-time arm talent. He has escapability. He has the ability to run the ball, and he's fearless. And so you get this kind of playmaker there. You surround him with weapons, you have a chance. Also, we have seen the easiest way to build a Super Bowl team is to have a quarterback playing on a cheap rookie contract. In the last 10 Super Bowls, we've seen 8 teams that have had players playing on those rookie deals at the quarterback position. Joe Douglas and those guys understand it. It gives you a 5-year window to really build a big-time team. This is what I think the Jets want to do, and I expect them to do it.
Oh, okay. So Nick, I hate to steal your take. You talked about this earlier. Everyone is talking about Zach Wilson now, but throughout the season, everybody was talking about Justin Fields as the number 2. That's what Nick talked about earlier in our show. Yep. So how do we go from, Trevor Lawrence and then also Justin Fields being the top 2 recruited quarterbacks in the nation going back to high school and then doing it the last 2 years, and now all of a sudden we're not talking about Justin Fields no more as the number 2 quarterback off the board? How is this happening, Bucky?
I really don't understand it. It's a mystery to me because if you go back and study this quarterback class, Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence have always been 1 and 2, and the order would flip routinely throughout their time. Having been around both guys when they were high school seniors, both of them are terrific in terms of their arm talent, their ability to lead a team, what they can do on the script and off the script. For whatever reason, people have grown tired of Justin Fields, and they've not only tried to put Zach Wilson over top of him, they put Trey Lance over top of him. I believe this.
Oh, my goodness.
Justin Fields is going to be a star at the next level. He is going to be a star because he's big time. He's had 78 total touchdowns. We've seen him on the same field with Trevor Lawrence twice. And in both games, I would say that Justin Fields was the best guy on the field. And I know people are going to talk about the interceptions at Indiana and Northwestern that looked like he got stuck. But I'm going to say, in a league where we've seen Josh Allen pop and Lamar Jackson pop, I firmly expect Justin Fields to pop if he pairs up with an offensive coordinator that builds an offense around his talents.
I want to stay on Justin Fields, and then I have a Mac Jones question. But on Justin Fields, do you think he's being hurt by Haskins? Haskins had unbelievable numbers, the same school, and was a guy who seemed to go through a similar thing where it's like, oh, might be a top 5 pick. And then he falls to the middle of the first round and obviously did not work out for him in Washington. Do you think that's affecting Justin Fields' draft stock?
Yeah, unfortunately, I do believe it's affecting him. I think sometimes people scout the helmet, and sometimes the transgressions of your predecessors impact the value that you may currently have. That said, and talking to Ohio State coaches, while Haskins was preparing for the draft, they were not very concerned about Dwayne Haskins leaving because they knew they had Justin Fields in the fold. They felt like they could do more stuff with Justin Fields. Obviously, there you're looking at the run game and that element. I think the best thing that happened to Justin Fields was the semifinal game this year versus Clemson, because the quarterback position is rarely talked about in terms of being a tough guy position, but Justin Fields' toughness that was displayed in that game, on top of the arm talent and the big playability, I think that changes the narrative some people may have about him. And I know that there's not a big conversation about him, but I firmly believe someone is laying in the cut, waiting for Justin Fields to fall, and they're going to snatch him. And we're going to look back in 3 years and say, why didn't we talk about Justin Fields more leading up to the draft? Because it's clear to me he's the second best quarterback in this draft. And some would argue, and I would argue, that you can make the case that when you go with him and Trevor Lawrence, there are times that you can say that Justin Fields is even a more impactful prospect.
All right, Bucky, I'm not shocked by the rise of Zach Wilson. There seems to be pretty typical that story, a guy who didn't play against great competition but had unbelievable numbers and looks right in the pro day. I'm not surprised by that. I'm not surprised by the fall of Justin Fields in that almost every year there's one quarterback who starts here, and then once the games are done being played, we tear him down. I am shocked by the meteoric rise of Mac Jones. I watched that guy play all year. I was like, oh, that's a good Alabama quarterback. At no point was I like, that guy's going to be a top 5 pick. I didn't think anyone thought he was going to be a top 5 pick. What is happening with Mac Jones? Am I missing it? Or are the other folks that say he could go 3 to the Niners missing it?
3.
So here's the thing, and I would say this. Of the 5 quarterbacks that are in the quarterback class, I would say Mac Jones is the only one without what I call superpowers. Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, and Trevor Lawrence, they all have superpowers when it comes to their arm talent or their athleticism. And Mac Jones, he doesn't have any of that. I guess he would be Iron Man because the suit does everything. And so when I look at him, I am also baffled by the conversation that Mac Jones is going to be a top 5 pick. Because in my mind, the top 5 should be reserved for the special guys. If you can't envision that quarterback being a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback or a perennial Pro Bowler, he shouldn't be in that conversation. The thing that has really led to Mac Jones' rise has been the fact that if you get him one-on-one on the board, he can tell you anything and everything about offense. His football IQ and intelligence and all that other stuff is exactly what you want. The reason that he's being connected to the Niners at 3 is because there are many that believe that Kyle Shanahan plays football like it's a video game, and the quarterback is simply the joystick. And so if the quarterback is the joystick, maybe Mac Jones can be the guy that can process and do all the things that Jimmy G can't do for him right now. That is why the conversation has been about Mac Jones, is because of Kirk Cousins, Matt Schaub, those guys that have been joysticks for Kyle Shanahan in the past. People are trying to connect Mac Jones with those guys and saying that Kyle Shanahan wants someone like that. While I would contend, if you see that, why not want better? Because Patrick Mahomes made the game so much easier for Andy Reid. Why not aspire to have more? But that is why the connection has been between the Niners and Mac Jones.
All right, I'm going to go in the opposite direction. We saw a ton of Mac Jones at Alabama. We saw a ton of Trevor Lawrence at Clemson. We didn't see much of anything about Trey Lance. He completed 15 passes, and like, that's it. Out in North Dakota.
Trey Lance has as many career starts as Mac Jones. Both of them started 17 games. The difference is that Trey Lance played at North Dakota State, which is a perennial power on their level. It's certainly difficult because you're trying to figure out, okay, he's the best guy on the field. How much should he dominate? And they run an offense that they don't ask their quarterback to do a lot. What's interesting, the same things were asked of Carson Wentz. There's a lot of complexity to what they do at North Dakota State in terms of what the quarterback has on his plate, checks at the line of scrimmage, their ability to vary between a traditional pro-style offense to doing some of the quarterback run game and RPOs. I will say this. He's a freak show at the position in terms of his arm talent and his athleticism. You just don't see guys that are 6'3", 230 pounds that can run through tackles like that and also throw the ball over the top of the defense. I think we continue to talk about Josh Allen and those things. I think the Josh Allen ascension last year helps guys like Trey Lance because people have seen what you can do creatively to help a player who may not have a lot of experience, who may have some limitations, thrive. I think Trey Lance benefits from that. He's very, very talented when it comes to playing the position.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.